Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to share an honest update about our little one and her speech delay journey, and honestly really what we have learned about processing delays overall. This video is going to be part story, part resource telling, and also part encouragement, because I know there's so many mamas also walking this road. So for the sake of anyone new here, I'm going to give a quick brief history on her speech delay before we go into where we are at now. When she was about 2.5, 3 years old, we did realize that she had a formal speech delay. That's when I started doing a lot of intentional research, which is why I'm so thankful for YouTube, that there's so much information out there if we know how to look and where to look for it. I came across Laura Mize's YouTube channel, Teach Me to Talk, and by watching a lot of her videos and by purchasing her curriculum, I really felt like I had the knowledge and kind of like the know-how to be able to have the confidence to be my child's therapist. Being a homeschool mama, it just made the most sense to me that I be the one to do the therapies at home, that I do the imitation. We're with her all the time, so it just made sense for me to choose to do the speech therapy route at home. So I found her channel and her resources to help me be the guide and the teacher and the best therapist that I could possibly be for my child. And we found just incredible results using that program. So every single time I hear a parent talking about speech delay, I always refer them to the Teach Me to Talk program and her channel. She's such a sweet lady, and her videos are so encouraging and inspiring and just full of wisdom and knowledge in this area. So I will also have those two resources linked down below in case you do need some help and encouragement for exactly what to do with your speech delay little one. So that was a little bit of the history of her speech delay. Now where we are at currently, we're kind of shifting gears a little bit, honestly. We're switching from working on her speech to now working on a processing delay. We noticed the significant delay, I want to say late spring, when we started getting outdoors more. Our family has been getting really into kickball, and we've been loving playing with all 4 of our little ones. My husband and I will be outside and we'll have our own little miniature team. It's really a ton of fun. Anyway, what we noticed it really significantly when it came to her time to kick the ball. She would stand at the plate. She would watch the ball roll towards her. She wouldn't kick it because she couldn't process that it was coming towards her quickly. She would watch it come, and then she would pick the ball up and move it closer, and she'd wait a couple seconds and then kick it. And then, do you know how with kickball you're supposed to run to the next space? Well, for her, she would take another 3 seconds. She'd have to process, okay, where do I run? And then she would run. Anyways, this is when I realized that this is really not just about speech. This is a broader processing delay. And that discovery was incredible to me because it really opened up a much bigger picture than what I was essentially either prepared for or helping her work towards. But it was also incredibly relieving because it really explained so much to what we had already been seeing out of her. And so realizing that this whole processing delay is also connected to the speech delay and like all these other little things, like gross motor skills delay because we're not able to hold our pencil or she can hold the pencil, but like do handwriting very easily and things like that. So I started doing a lot of research. It was during this time of really researching about processing delays that I came across this book called Disconnected Kids. Our doctor was the one that actually recommended this, and I'm so incredibly thankful that they did. So in this book, he explains that many learning and developmental challenges are not isolated, and they're connected to how the brain itself is wired and balanced, and that sometimes one hemisphere of the brain is overdeveloped while the other side is underdeveloped. And when that imbalance occurs, it can show up in many ways, as I've been discovering the past few years. When that imbalance happens, it shows up as speech delays, attention struggles, sensory issues, motor skill issues, and even behavioral issues. So this book has really opened my eyes to how powerful it can really be to have that disconnected or connected brain. And reading this book really felt like light bulbs going off in my head, because suddenly I could really see why my little one might be really good and excel in one area but really struggle in another. And it wasn't that she couldn't do these things, it was that her brain needed help connecting to the weaker areas with the stronger ones. And this book has been kind of like my guide, as well as something else I'm going to show you here that I found to be even more beneficial. to how do we reconnect them in a way with different exercises and resources and things like that. After I read Disconnected Kids, I started digging even deeper, and that's when I discovered the Doman International Method. And the Doman International Method is founded by Glenn Doman, and his team are the ones that pioneered this original work decades ago. And they were the ones that showed that the brain is not fixed, it is indeed plastic, meaning it can grow and change when given the right input, that being the key thing. So again, I read Disconnected Kids. I discovered that the original Disconnected Kids work was based off of Doman International. So then I headed over to the Doman International website, and that's when I found that the Doman International's approach was really more of what I was looking for. So just to give a little bit more background on Doman International before moving on here, I want to say, if I remember correctly, that it was founded to help elderly stroke patients regain their life and get back to normal after stroke. So it was helping them rebuild their brain or rewire the brain. And then the same team of doctors decided that, you know what, if this is working for our older people and our elders, then we need to help younger children who also have brain issues and a lot of speech delays, processing delays, autism, your dyslexia, things like that. All of those have to do with the brain. And so they're like, well, if this is working with rebalancing and reconnecting the brain of our stroke patients, so why can't this work with little ones? So then they shifted their focus to really pouring into children as early as infants, when there's something wrong, as they can reconnect the brain quickly to help our little ones. The three main things that the Doman International things really emphasis, especially with working on reconnecting the brain with little kids, is for one, of course, physical movement. Things like crawling, creeping, using a balance beam, and then coordination activities. And then the second being sensory input, so things like stimulating vision, and also stimulating hearing and touch in really purposeful and meaningful ways. And the third one is going to be intellectual stimulation, so gently exposing children to information in really small, bite-sized, enjoyable pieces and in enjoyable ways. One of the things I really like about the Doman method, and this method, brain balance, all those things are tied together, is that their whole philosophy is that children with developmental delays are not stuck. And so many of us parents think that this delay is going to be with them forever and that their brain's never going to change or shift. But what I'm learning firsthand in my own personal experience, which is why I'm talking about this and love it, is that with consistent targeted activities, parents can help rewire the brain. And I love this so much because I've seen it firsthand, guys, and I love it so much. And I'll update you guys where we are at now in a minute. But what struck me most about the Doman method and what is different than the brain balance method, even though they're the same, is that the Doman method is very parent-led. So moms and dads are trained to weave these exercises into daily life at home, which makes them very doable and natural to kind of implement. It's kind of the same way where I was talking about how I naturally implement, I should say, the Teach Me to Talk program. Well, the Doman International is helping us rewire our child's brain in a very doable and natural approach as well. So I love that. I love it so much. So back to a little bit more about brain balance. So the brain balance program is more like a modern commercial version of the Doman approach. And families go to if you're wanting to do a brain balance program, families can go to a brain balance center several times a week. And then a professional will lead the child through exercises, sensory activities, and even intense nutrition plans. But the goal is the same. So even if you do the Doman International thing, same thing as brain balance, the goal is the same, and that is to strengthen weaker areas of the brain, build new connections, and bring a balance between the hemispheres. They're just a little bit different in involvement. So I'm going to go ahead and do a side-by-side comparison of Doman International, or I said the Doman method versus brain balance, just to give you guys some education on the two in case this is the first time you're hearing about it, like that was me a few months ago. So what's the main difference between doing the Doman International approach or brain balance. So Doman International, like I already mentioned, is the original research-rooted method. It is parent-led, which I am 100% on board with and love so much. And it is designed to be carried out at home. And as a homeschool mama, I'm like, praise the Lord for this, because they want the parents to be involved. A lot of different therapies and things that you go to, it's like no parent involvement, let us professionals handle everything. Whereas in the Doman International method, or just the Doman method I should say, is like, no, the parents are the reason why your children succeed. Here you go, we're gonna train you how to do it. So the Doman method, it requires a lot of consistency and commitment from the parents, however. That would be the only downside, is like, because you are their main therapist, it does require you to be very consistent and committed. And then the wonderful thing about this is Doman International, the parents are trained and empowered to do the programs themselves, as I already mentioned a couple of times, with that being the main thing I'm looking for. And I ended up going back, I don't know how much I'm talking here because I've recorded and stopped so many times, which you guys wouldn't know that, but I have. I don't know where my brain is at right now, which is why I love this. I ended up reaching out to a brain balance type doctor here, as I already mentioned, and I had sent them an email, and I was honest, and I was like, I really am looking for a parent-led approach. Is there any way we can do a hybrid where I can bring her in for a therapy session once a week, but then you guys tell me like, hey, this is what you do at home for this lesson? Because our doctor that we had looked into taking to, or brain balance I should say, that we had looked at taking her to, was like an hour and 20 minutes from our home. Plus it had to drop off my other 3 little ones with my mom. And so it would have been a whole day out process, 2 days a week. I was like, is there any way that you guys can help me learn how to help her? And I never heard back from them. So I was like, okay, that's fine. We're not going to do that, because I'm like, if you're not willing to help me, then obviously you're just, my daughter is just like your money maker, and I get that. Everyone runs a business. But I really want to learn how to do this myself. And with Doman International, with the Doman method, that's their job, is to train you as a parent, which is why I loved it. Anyway, the difference between Doman International is definitely more parent-led. They teach you how to do it yourself. Brain balance is more structured, center-based version. So instead of parents doing everything at home, you go to a center where the trained staff will guide your child. It's very convenient for some families, but again, it can be extremely expensive. If you live within, 20, 30 minutes of one, it might be worth the time and expense for you, depending what your time is like at home. And I know a lot of people, if they don't have that time and mental capacity to take on that big of a thing, because it does require a lot of intention at home, then that might be the best option as well. But both approaches do share the exact same roots and the same belief, and that is that the brain can change, it can grow and rewire. The delivery of that approach is just very different with the two methods. So another thing I want to mention when it comes to brain balance and Doman International is brain balance is, yes, it can be very, very expensive. However, the Doman International thing, if you do their entire online training and you have like your child assessment and things like that, I want to say it can be a few $1,000s, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's not as much as brain balance. It's probably a third of the cost from what I've been able to tell. But with you as a parent being trained to do this, you can help all of your children and any like relatives that might come into your life, or anyone in your life that you are now equipped to help them. If you have older people in your life that have a stroke, you are now equipped to help them, help to rebalance their brain. So to me, it is much more valuable to get trained myself than to let someone else pay thousands of dollars to let someone else help one child one time, when I could just do the training myself for a third of the price and know how to help everyone in my life. So I'd much rather do that route. But I'm also going to be 100% honest with you and say that I did not even purchase the training course with Doman International. It is something that might be on my list of like bucket list things to do in the winter, but right now we just don't have the finances for it. So I'm going to be honest and tell you that both approaches, whether or not you get trained or you do the brain balance approach, when it comes to working with processing delays, it can be pricey. However, the way I got all my information when it comes to the Doman International method is there's audiobooks on Audible. Look up the Doman method, anything Doman. So the Doman, I want to say, actually, you know what, I'm going to link all the books that I've read or listened to down below about the Doman Method. And then of course, this being the primary thing because his book is based on the Doman Method. But I've done a lot of just different reading, listening to audiobooks while cooking dinner. And then there's a couple mamas on YouTube that have actually been through both programs. And so they prefer Doman over one or the other and vice versa. And I'll see if I can remember those channels. I'll link those down below as well. But both ways are pricey. I just think if I'm going to pick an expensive thing to take, I'd much rather have myself be trained and help everybody instead of having a one-time, one-child thing, if that makes sense. So I'm gonna move on now to what we are doing now and where she's at now by adapting a lot of these things I've learned from the Doman Method. And I love it so much. This is one of those things where I just praise the Lord that He gives us the right resources at the right time. And this is one of those things where I just love God's timing because it was so soon after seeing a big processing delay out of her that I came across these resources. And I'm so thankful for that. So what we are doing now and where she is at now, my little one actually has a strong right brain, but a disconnected or low left side of her brain. So the exercises that they have given us to do, when I say they, I mean Doman International Method, and then this book here, have it all laid out for you, depending on what part of the brain. And there's all kinds of, let me see if I can look it up. Sorry, I'm going all over the place. Sometimes when I get excited about things, I go all over the place. But there's a lot of different, if you can see, a lot of different checklists that you check off as the parent. And one of them is actually really, really long. Let me find it. This is actually the paperwork that I filled out in the doctor's office. Anyway, there's a big chapter just on assessing your child, and you're going to total up the score at the end, and then you're going to see if your child is left brain or right brain deficient, and then based on that deficiency, they're going to choose different exercises, diets, plans, everything like that to help your little ones. So with all that being said, my little one is left brain. That's the side of the brain that needs to be reconnected because that's where we're deficient in right now, and this affects gross motor skills, her speech, which she has a speech delay. So in this time, like my mind is like opening up, you know, all the possibilities. And then it greatly affects her processing delay. So the thing that I have noticed the most improvement with her is doing cross-body movements. So things like crawling patterns or marching while touching opposite hand to knee, exercises where she has to cross her midline. And these help the two sides of the brain to communicate, which is what we're going for. When you're doing cross patterns and you're crisscrossing, it's incredible. It's incredible how the brain works in this way. The second thing that we've been really doing that we've noticed huge improvement for her specific side of the brain is balance work. So practicing standing on one foot, walking a line, or playing games that require coordination. And balance is closely tied to processing and attention. So what we ended up doing is when we first took her in to get assessed, because again, we were going to originally take her in and have someone else do the work, she did the balance beam and she loved doing the balance beam, but the time between balancing, the tie that it has to processing and attention is incredible. So we ended up creating our own balance beam here at home, and she's been loving that. And we've noticed leaps and bounds just how quickly it's helped for some reason. And again, I don't exactly understand how balancing on a balance beam can help with processing delay, but it has. It's incredible. Another thing that we've been implementing a lot is sensory play, specifically tactile input. So sand, water play, Play-Doh. Even though we play with this all the time, something that we've noticed a big improvement with is the brushing exercises. So sensory stimulation helps wake up weaker areas of the brain. And the way we do this is we have gotten, do you know those like dry brushes that you use to exfoliate your skin or to create more circulation in your body? Well, we have a more firmer dry brush mixed with like a really soft, fluffy like makeup powder brush. And we'll go back and forth just for a few seconds, and we'll rub like little dry brush on her arms and on her back, her neck, and on her legs. And then we'll go back with the soft, fluffy brush. And that literally awakens that part of the brain and helps them to connect. And it's incredible to me. Another thing that when we first got her assessed that she could not do very well is visual tracking. So she had a really hard time on the very first appointment from taking, even if you hold your finger out in front of your nose and like follow the finger, she could not do that very, very well. So now she can follow things with her eyes. And one of the things that we've seen about this is it really does strengthen the connection between vision and processing, which ties into, guess what, both speech and learning. So there's just all these little things that they are so simple. Like if you take even a little toy and you say, okay, honey, keep your eyes on the toy and turn your head, but don't take your eyes off of it. it's just incredible the amount of things that you can do that are simplistic, but work if you're intentional with it. Another thing that we use that I've noticed a really big change with her processing has been rhythm and music. So clapping games, stomping, drumming to a beat, clapping to a beat. Rhythm really helps regulate timing in the brain, which is essential for communication, specifically processing delayed little ones. And this has been incredible to me. She loves songs, she loves singing, she loves worship music. And so we'll put some of her favorite like high tempo worship songs on, and we'll have her clap to them. And she's gotten very, very good at keeping up with the tempo and at paying attention. And it's incredible, like you're processing the tempo at the same time you're having to clap to the tempo. So it's automatically, again, connecting both sides of the brain, which is so fun. A lot of her fine motor activities that we've been doing that's helped a lot with the overall, just the entire growth and development has been, we've done a lot of puzzles, we've done threading beads, of course Play-Doh, and things like that. A lot of coloring has also helped, specifically painting, because she seems to really enjoy painting over coloring. And then strengthening fine motor skills really overall is such a huge part of developing better overall processing, has been strengthening those fine motor skills. And honestly, fine motor skill things are just fun for her. She really enjoys it. Anyway, we keep all of these little things that we do with her really short but frequent, and this tends to be the common denominator to get this program to work well for your children. So even just 5 to 10 minutes is all you need to do at one time. In fact, they actually recommend that you only do a few minutes at a time. However, you need to be consistent with repeating them throughout all the day. And that's something that both Brain Balance and the Doman Method really emphasizes, is that consistency is much more powerful than length. So if you have, let's say, an hour set aside, you could do all of your stuff in 1 hour, but it will not hold the same weight or work as well if you have 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 5 minutes here. And so when you're learning how to weave that in naturally through your day, it's going to be incredibly powerful, and you're going to receive results so much quicker. Even the weeks where we've done specifically tactile exercise experiences, so for example, that dry brush and fluffy brush that I used, that, guys, it only takes 30 seconds. It's just like 15 seconds with the hard brush, 15 seconds with the fluffy brush, only you're needing to do that all throughout the day, maybe 20 times, but that's still only, like maybe 15 minutes of time to really like connect that part of the brain. And it's incredible to me how something so simplistic as dry brushing and fluffy brushing together, or not together, but separately, just for a few minutes here and there, is more powerful than that long session. So those are some of the things that we do. Again, we keep everything really short but frequent because it seems to work the best that way. So after all that being said, does it actually help? And what is the progress that we are actually seeing in all honesty and in all transparency? My overall answer to this question is yes, it has helped in big ways and small ways. Her speech is still coming slowly but steadily, and it's becoming more confident. She wants to engage in full-on adult conversation now. She processes directions much more easily than before and can do steps and like step-by-step instructions, I should say. And her coordination and balance has noticeably improved, and she honestly seems a lot happier and more confident in herself, which as a mama is such a gift to see. A lot of the things that when it comes to the left side of the brain being disconnected is that high emotion, which you'll notice a lot in speech delayed children or processing delayed children. They're also very emotional children, and that's been one of the things I've had to navigate with how to extend grace, but this is also like the way she's communicating right now type of thing. And it has been incredible to see the emotional regulation start to happen and take place, because we're starting to reconnect the two sides of the brain, and it has been a huge blessing to just have that more regulated little one, and realizing that a lot of times big emotions like that, when they are connected to speech delays, have a very good reason behind it, and this has been that. So while this has not been a magic overnight fix, and nothing is in life, by the way, it has given us tools and hope instead of just waiting and worrying about the processing delay getting worse and worse. A couple of other resources I wanted to share with you are, actual resources, but they're also resources online that I came across. And the reason why I'm sharing this one resource particularly is this was the only kind of trainer or therapist that got back to me that didn't just say, well, sign up for my $800 course or $1,000 course or $3,000 course. So I'm highlighting her specifically because I just had a simple question, and I sent her a message and I said, we did the assessment. My little one has a left side brain disconnect. What are some exercises that you would recommend? Because her entire YouTube channel and Instagram all has to do with brain exercises. And so I wanted to share her. I want to say it's E-lined, like aligned, E-lined, and I'll have it linked down below. But she got back to me very, very quickly and told me all the exercises to do specifically with a disconnected left side of the brain with little ones. And she recommended doing a ton of ball play, like everything ball related, so kicking the ball. But she specifically said, make sure if your child has the left brain disconnect, so speech delay, processing delay, emotional, things like that, is to put their left arm behind their back and then roll the ball and play ball with their right arm. It connects the left part of the brain that way. So do everything with the ball only with your right hand if you have a left brain disconnect. I'm not sure again how it works, but it works. Anyway, a ton of ball play. So kicking the ball. When I was mentioning at the beginning of my video talking about kickball and the processing delay, now when we play kickball a couple months later, she runs out and meets the ball and kicks it while it's moving. If that tells you anything, that's been our huge game changer, like eye-opening moment for my husband and I. We're like, look how fast she, like, it's just night and day difference. So a ton of ball play would be huge. Another thing I'm going to show you what to do is I'm going to insert a clip here of me doing it, is taking these and doing a crisscross motion like under your legs. And again, I'm going to show you here over an overlay of how you do it. And this is also an exercise that the lady I reached out to also suggested doing. And this has been a game changer as well. This one simple activity, you don't need anything special to do this. You can do this with a baseball, a toy, whatever you have in your house. You don't have to buy anything. And you do this crisscross pattern. And she started out not being able to do this at all or comprehend how to do it, to now she can do the zigzag pattern. She can do in and out. I love it so much. And it's just been a game-changing, simple activity that you don't need really anything special for. As far as those fine motor things, having buttons to put on strings really helps. I've had this one for quite a while. Both of my toddlers love it. They're not toddlers anymore. My kindergartner, who we're talking about, and then my 3-year-old love these. So having large buttons where they're having to really concentrate to put on the string is another huge one. Another game that has actually been my kindergartner's favorite. The box is all painted right now, sorry, because it's on our school table all the time, so it's painted and a mess, but it's the Noodle Knockout, the fine motor game. This is so much fun. You take little tweezers and you make your own little soup recipes, and she loves this. So any fine motor activity that's also going to instill and reconnect that brain is incredible. Another thing that goes along with the buttons is I have a bunch of these little animals, and then you just string the little strings around them, kind of like this here. This also helps, and these are not just helping for that. When we take these to church for a quiet time activity, she does them for school. An incredible resource for speech delay and brain processing delay, or processing delays in general. Last thing I wanted to share is actually a game called Pattern Play from Mindware, and this is great for little ones who have, again, processing delays, specifically following instructions, because they're having to do sequencing with these, or kind of like putting things into patterns. But you follow a little card and you have to put all the pieces in here according to the card and whatnot. So it's called Pattern Play. Really fun. All of my kiddos love this one. It's a really fun activity. I normally just keep it dumped out on the living room floor, honestly, and then that way it's kind of there for whoever wants to play with it. It's already out. So Pattern Play is another huge one that really all of my kiddos love, but she really enjoys doing as well. So I think the most important thing for me has been realizing that I'm not powerless. I don't have to wait on someone else to tell me what my child needs, because there are things that I can do, simple things, wonderful things at home that actually help her brain grow. So if a therapist or a brain balance program won't answer any questions without paying thousands of dollars to get an answer, I've just been so encouraged to know that there's so many resources out there that don't cost thousands of dollars and that can help you as a parent help your child. Again, I think to tie it all up, I would say if you can afford it, definitely do the training at Doman International. Their website, I can link it down below as well. Eventually, I would love to get formally trained, but right now I'm using the resources that are available via, as I already mentioned, audiobooks and books and stuff like that. So whether you do look into Disconnected Kids, the Brain Balance Program, or the Doman International, I do encourage you just to explore and learn to see what really resonates with your family, because there are so many different wonderful and beautiful options out there. So thank you so much for being here and for letting me share my journey. Again, I'll link everything I talked about today down below. If you have tried, I'm really curious, but if you have actually tried the brain balance or the Doman method yourself, I would love to hear your experience in the comments. I know the brain balance program is much more popular and common than the Doman method is, but if you've done either training or done the therapy at Brain Balance, I would love to hear your experience. I would really, really love to know from someone firsthand that's actually done it. Anyway, thank you guys again for being here and for watching today's video. Until my next one, you guys have a great day, whatever you're doing, and take care. Bye guys.